Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here, the Executive Director of the American Constitutional Rights Union and Action Fund, and welcome to another episode of LiveFree TV, courtesy of the American Constitutional Rights Union. You know, right now we're looking at the reestablishment of our operational control of our border and also the restoration of our national sovereignty. And I think it's so important that we not just look to the federal government, we also have to understand at the local level, these law enforcement agencies that can assist the federal government in making sure that criminal illegal immigrants and those who are here illegally are not allowed to find safe harbor and sanctuary here in the United States of America. And here at the American Constitutional Rights Union, we have established what we call the Defender Initiative. We'll be recognizing those law enforcement agencies, sheriffs, and also police departments that are working with the federal authorities, ICE, under what is called the 287G program. And we just recently had our very first award recipient, and that was Sheriff Kevin Rambosk of Collier County. Take a look at this clip.
I am Lori Roman, Chairman and President of the American Constitutional Rights Union. Today, we are very pleased to be at the Collier County Sheriff's Office to launch our nationwide Defenders Initiative to recognize and encourage law enforcement who are cooperating with ICE to protect their citizens.
On behalf of all the men and women of the Collier County Sheriff's Office, we received the Defender Award from the American Constitutional Rights Union today. It really supports our 287G efforts in keeping Collier County safe.
Sheriff Rambosk has done everything that he can to protect the citizens of this county from criminal illegal aliens going back many, many years. And we're very, very, very happy that Collier County Sheriff's Office is the very first one. Sheriff Rambosk and your whole team do exceptional work and have been really ahead of most other places in doing this for many years.
For almost 2 decades, the Collier County Sheriff's Office has participated with ICE's initiative through 287G. Now that it's become America's top priority, President Trump and this administration's top priority, Collier County is again stepping up to the plate and leading the way in the nation in making sure that we enforce the law of the land and get those illegal aliens out of our community.
People here in Collier County should sleep very well. They should be able to go out and enjoy their lives, enjoy this beautiful area, enjoy the sunsets over the Gulf of America, because they've got the right type of sheriff, the right type of law enforcement agency. So, Sheriff, on behalf of the American Constitutional Rights Union, I want to present you the very first Esteemed Defender Award, because you are standing in the gap and doing what is necessary to protect your citizens here in Collier County, and you're setting an example for sheriffs all across this country.
If there's anything that can make your community safer, I believe that you should do it. And this is absolutely a program that does. Thank you very much.
It's my proud honor to be joined on this episode of the LiveFree TV segment by Sheriff Kevin Rambosk of Collier County, who is a career law enforcement officer. He first joined law enforcement there in the city of Naples in 1978. He rose to the rank of captain and then on to be a chief of police there. He's been there as the sheriff of Collier County since about 2009. Sheriff Rambosk, thanks so much for joining us here at LiveFree TV.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, let's kind of give an orientation, because there are a lot of people that are outside the state of Florida, maybe even folks in the state of Florida, not familiar with Collier County. So can you kind of give us a geographical orientation they can understand?
Sure. We are based in Southwest Florida, and that is the Gulf Coast. We are, other than Monroe County on the East Coast, we are the furthest south county in Florida on the Gulf side. We have about 2,030 square miles here and about 500,000 people, but 1.6 million visitors per year to Collier County.
It's incredible when you look at that geographical location, because you have, you know, a position right there along the Gulf of America. Then also you extend over into the Everglades, if I'm correct.
Yes, we comprise about half the state of Florida if you look at the peninsula vertically. So you can go from the Gulf about 50 or 60 miles out to the center of the Everglades, and you're still in Collier County. So in effect, we really are a U.S. border community via the water, and we're also in the midst of the Everglades.
A lot of people talk about constitutional law enforcement officers. Can you kind of explain to the audience the understanding of a sheriff being an elected constitutional law enforcement officer as opposed to maybe an appointed police chief?
Yeah, certainly. Particularly in the state of Florida, the office of sheriff is a constitutional office, which means it is a separate office, and we report directly to the voters who empower us and elect us. That is somewhat different than other counties throughout the United States. There typically are differences. What drives us as an organization, though, and as a constitutional office, is really demonstrated in our mission. And our mission is to preserve and protect the lives, property, and constitutional guarantees of all persons, which means it is our role and responsibility to ensure that we take every avenue and look at every opportunity to protect our community, utilizing the Constitution of the United States and the state of Florida to do it.
When we talk about this 287G program that you are supporting by working with ICE, this is not something new to you. You go back to 2007, early on, that you were on board with doing the things necessary to protect your citizens there. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement back then in 2007? And what do you see the trends and some of the disturbing things that have happened and where we are today?
Yeah, certainly. When we first were made aware of this program, I was the undersheriff at the time, and we looked at our jail population, and we found that there were approximately 32% of our jail population self-admitted to being here illegally. And of course, if you think about it from the perspective of individuals in the jail have committed a crime, they've been arrested, they've been brought to the jail to be processed, and the 287G program, as was described to us, would allow us to look at individuals who had committed crimes in your community, against your residents, against your businesses, and determine what country they were born in. And if they were born in the United States, they would be processed with the normal booking process. If you were not born here, we were empowered through 287G to do a background on you and determine whether you have come to our country legally or not. And if not, to place a detainer and work with ICE to identify those persons who had committed crimes and had come into this country illegally, with the ultimate goal of, if you're in our community and in our country and you've come in illegally and you're committing crime, and on average, we found that 6 crimes had been committed by the time we arrested an individual, at least 1 felony and 5 misdemeanors, then it's our responsibility to stop that crime spree from going, process you, turn you over to ICE, and allow you to go through due process, which the Constitution calls for in our country, and then determine whether or not you should be removed from our country.
When you think about this new wave of criminal illegal immigrants or illegal immigration, how has that complicated the duties and responsibilities for your law enforcement agency?
Well, I think it's not only complicated our role. Law enforcement across the country is encountering drug dealers, drug smugglers, gang members, gun runners, cartels who have come across the border to take advantage of our residents, of our visitors in this country, as well as in our community. We've tracked drug trafficking of fentanyl from the southwest border right into our community. So for those individuals that I speak to around the country, when I speak to say, well, that doesn't happen here. Yes, it does. And it can happen anywhere. And this is a process where we can begin to eliminate the individuals who did not process correctly, who came into the country and we don't know who they are.
You know, you're a member of the Florida Sheriff's Association, also the Major County Sheriff's Association of the United States of America. Is this a big topic when you go to these meetings and these conferences with other sheriffs?
Well, locally at the Florida Sheriff's right now, it has been a significant topic, and due to our governor's position, where he and the legislature implemented 2 state laws that enforce immigration law. Basically, if you come into the state of Florida and you're not in the country legally, you're violating Florida law. So we're working together with ICE right now to determine how do we effectively ensure that we've got the proper data and background on the individual before we take action. Mm-hmm. So that has prompted every single sheriff's office in the state of Florida to enter into some form of 287G, whether it be the Warrant Service Officer Program or more likely the new Task Force Program, mm-hmm. which will allow ICE to teach and certify a number of law enforcement officials throughout the state of Florida and give them the authority to hold and transport any individual that has a detainer on them from ICE, since it is an administrative detainer, but it will allow law enforcement to get these individuals off the street and into an immigration court for a hearing.
With all of your law enforcement experience, when you look at sheriffs, like the sheriff we have here in Dallas County where I live, what excuse do they have for not participating in this program and not making sure they provide safe and secure communities for their citizens?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that I hear when I speak nationally. One is that there will be a chilling effect, and individuals will not report becoming a victim of crime. But I will tell you, we have the longest standing, most productive 287G program in the nation, as we understand it. And throughout that time, and from the very beginning, we worked with our community to reinforce what 287G is, what it is not. If you are a victim of a crime, we will certainly investigate that, and we will provide safeguards for victims, which we're allowed to do under I-9 forms. And I think that's the biggest question. The second one is, well, we have to be tolerant about crime. And, you know, that the same crimes could be committed from a local United States resident. Well, that may be true, but the resident is properly here in this country. The other individual has entered without inspection or unlawfully or illegally, as I like to say. So they've broken the law to get in, and now they continue to break the law and victimize residents, citizens, and businesses in our country. And that has got to stop.
You know, you have had extensive experience down there in Collier County, in Naples. You've had leadership positions there in law enforcement and also city manager. You know, kind of give a plug for why you think that Southwest Florida area is a fantastic area. I'll tell you that I think it's a great area because you have a great sheriff down there that is making sure it's safe and secure. But what makes Southwest Florida such a great place?
Well, there actually are a couple of things. The fantastic men and women of law enforcement throughout all of Southwest Florida that do their job daily. They are supported publicly by our residents and businesses, and that is different than many parts of the country. Our residents support professional law enforcement and allow law enforcement to do their job. And that has resulted in particularly our community having the lowest crime rate in history, and was identified as in a year ago as the safest community out of 150 metropolitan areas in the United States. And when you put all of that together, that is exactly why we have the positive outcomes that we've got. You know, I'm going to ask you that leadership question that we all get asked.
what's your biggest concern, from this moment and going forward?
Well, I think one of the biggest concerns for us is the influx of fentanyl into our country as a whole. It is the most deadly addictive drug that I have ever seen in the last 45 years. Our overdose deaths have been increasing. We've put together a lot of information and a lot of programs to thwart that increase. But we need, first and foremost, to lock down the borders. Second, we've got to make sure that we do have a process for working people to come into this country and support the businesses that want to bring them in. And secondly, we need enforcement throughout the country to take out the drug dealers and the manufacturers, along with gangs and cartels. That is my fear for as we move forward.
Sheriff Kevin Rambosk, how can people follow you in the Collier County Sheriff's Office?
We have a great website, colliercountysheriff.org, and they can just pull us up on the web, and it'll take you right to it.
Well, it was a pleasure and honor to be with you just recently, and I'll be back down there to Naples and Collier County the first week of May, and I look forward to seeing you once again. And I just want to say thank you for all that you've done, an incredible career in law enforcement. And it is an honor to have presented you with the very first Defenders Award. And because you're setting a standard, you're setting an example, as people who watch this interview will clearly understand. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Kevin Rambosk of the Collier County Sheriff's Department. Sir, thank you, and may God be with you.
Thank you, Colonel, and thank you for your service to this nation.
My pleasure. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this episode of LiveFree TV. And please follow us at theacru.org and learn more about the Defender Initiative at theacru.org. And please nominate your sheriff if you think that they're up to the standard of a Sheriff Kevin Rambosk. Until next time, steadfast and loyal.